As expected, prosecutors in the Gareon Conley case would turn the case over to the grand jury. What does this mean for Gareon Conley? I looked up grand juries to get a basic idea of what percentage of cases are forwarded to trial. In federal cases in 2010, 162,000 cases were heard before federal grand juries. Only 11 did not go to trial. Some of the exceptions, this particular story was about police officer in Ferguson, and they tend to not go forward on cases against cops, especially at the state level. But some of the articles said federal grand juries are similar to state grand juries. That one New York attorney years ago, and I've heard this myself, said a prosecutor could get a grand jury to try a slice of ham or whatever. A ham sandwich or something. In other words, this is going to trial. The only thing I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a cop, is will Gareon Conley get charged after the grand jury says go forward with trial? Charge him with rape. If he is charged with rape, I'm inclined to think he will get arrested. The Raiders will not have him this year if he's arrested. He's not going to trial next week. There is such a thing as a plea bargain. In many cases, are plead out. Like I said before in other videos, other commentary, that he could plead guilty to a lesser charge. Something like disorderly conduct or something. I don't know. Because it's very, like, sketchy. Remember the cops or whatever, the prosecutor, they're not going to a grand jury because we don't know what to do, really. They're going to them to plead the case that he needs to be tried for rape. They're not in his side. He has very few sides. There's no one on his side. He's got a couple friends that were there, that were witnesses who, what I remember, were just bad witnesses. Some were uncooperative. He's got a video. There's a video of the, I thought it was a hotel, but it's some sort of warehouse bar. So it's totally ghetto. And even if he's found innocent, eventually, you just don't go to trial that fast. This is just call it August 1st. August, September, October, November, December, January. I would say the earliest it would go to trial is 6 months. Maybe February, after 6 months. I think the season's over by then. Or just about. If he is charged and arrested, I just don't see a judge allowing him to leave the state. I still think it's going to be some sort of plea bargain. And he's going to have to pay restitution, and he will get sued, and he'll have to pay her out. And you will have to pay a good amount if that's what happens. He fights it or whatever, and wants to go to trial, I'm telling you, 6 months to 12 months. I have no idea what the scheduling of the whatever county Cleveland is in, district court, superior court, I don't know where it goes to even. But I guarantee it's a high crime area, and there's plenty of cases, and like I said, it's a business, it's a corporation. But this does not look good for him. This does not look good for the Raiders. He will not play this year if he's arrested and held on bail. He will have the money to make bail, maybe. But, like I said, no judge is going to allow him to leave the state, and especially the country. Now, there are sometimes like special considerations or whatever, but and maybe he's never gotten in trouble before, and they're gonna see him as a potential flight risk. I'd be very surprised if they allowed him to go play football in all these other cities around the country. Does he have to go? Does he have to play with an ankle bracelet on? Like I said, grand juries return favorable results to the prosecution overwhelmingly at the state and federal level. He screwed up big, and now the Raiders potentially screwed up big because they actually needed more help at cornerback. Now they still need help at cornerback if what I say comes true. And I'm just basing it on what is out there. He's not a cop. And like I said before, it's a thing people have a hard time wrapping their mentality around. They think he's like on trial right now. He's not. They're just looking for the slither of evidence or probable cause, stuff like that. The threshold to charge someone is way lower than to convict. Make no mistake about it. Anyone can be charged with just about anything. And the courts are so convoluted and it just takes forever to get your justice. If you can get your justice, because he has to convince a jury of his peers that he did nothing wrong. But he's got all these inconsistent statements. He's got poor witnesses. I mean, it's just a total mess. That's why I think they're just going to want money, plea bargain. He's going to have to lose money. To me, that's the only way he plays this year. That's the only way. Maybe the Raiders are telling him that. They gave him mostly guaranteed money, according to Ian Rappaport. Maybe that's why he got mostly guaranteed money. He's going to need it. It's not that much money, but it's going to be a percentage of what he has that they're going to want and the girl's going to want. But this does not look good for Gareon Conley or the Raiders. We will find out pretty shortly, because I don't think they're going to spend like weeks. And a grand jury is only impaneled for a certain amount of time. They will have to call witnesses. One indication is when we hear that he is not available, and right now he's on the PUP list, physically unable to perform list. I wonder what that's all about. There was some indication that he was injured before, but I'd say maybe it has something to do with the fact he's going to have to appear before a grand jury very soon. And he needs to be there. Because I don't think the Raiders want marshals, U.S. Marshals, coming to their facility to arrest a player. Really, I'm serious. States extradite fugitives. He's out in California. He's going to be back in Cleveland very soon. He will be one of the witnesses. He will be one of the people called before the grand jury, I would think. No, he could plead the fifth or whatever, but good luck with that. You don't cooperate with the grand jury, you're in jail as long as the grand jury sits. Not good. Not a good situation for Gareon Conley, who brought it all on himself, and the Raiders. Not good at all.